Good morning, my Real News Media TV family. Thank you so much for tuning in this morning for another news update for Wednesday, November 19, 2025. And I'm wishing for everyone a wonderful and a productive day. And in the news this morning, Noel Maitland called Donnelly many times after her disappearance, court hears. A deputy superintendent of police from the Communication Forensics and the Cybercrime Division told the court that a phone number attributed to Constable Noel Maitland made numerous calls to his girlfriend, Donnelly Donaldson, many days after she went missing. Maitland is being tried in the Home Circuit Court in Kingston for murder and preventing the lawful burial of a corpse in relation to the July 12, 2022 disappearance of Donaldson. Donaldson, who was 24 and a social media influencer and entrepreneur, was last seen at the Chelsea Manor apartment complex in St. Andrew, where Maitland lived. On Tuesday, the DSP, who had been on the witness stand in the trial since last week, continued to illustrate for the 7-member jury a web of phone calls made and received by the constable around the time and the days after Donaldson went missing. Maitland also made calls to and received numerous calls from his baby mother and communicated with Donaldson's mother, Sophia Logg, and the truck driver. The DSP told the court that the number attributed to Maitland attempted to call Donaldson's cell phone at least 4 times. The detective said each call lasted only a few seconds and that there was no cell tower information for Donaldson. He explained that could have been caused because her phone was off or did not pick up on a network cell tower. On Monday, prosecutors had the DSP show the web of calls and attempted calls made from phone numbers attributed to Maitland, his baby mother, a delivery truck driver, and others. The DSP projected a spreadsheet of call information as he explained certain details during his testimony. The period he requested subscriber information for was between July 1 and July 27, 2022. He said that for the purposes of the case, he requested and received the Digicel and the flow call data records for 8 cell phone numbers. Only about 3 of the 8 numbers returned subscriber information. Where there was no subscriber information for the contact numbers, attributions were made. There was the subscriber information for one of the numbers, which the DSP said belonged to Maitland. There was subscriber information also for a K. Smith. One of the numbers was attributed to Donnelly Donaldson and another to the truck driver, who picked up a settee from Maitland's apartment and brought it to a car wash on Lyndhurst Road in St. Andrew. There was one phone number that the DSP attributed to both Maitland and Smith, as they both were believed to be using that number. The trial continues today. Case against the man accused of murdering UTech student Anissa Dilworth pushed back to January 2026. The case against the man accused of the murder of University of Technology Jamaica student Anissa Dilworth has again been postponed in the St. Catherine. Up on Tuesday, the court was informed that the voluntary bill on indictment from the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions is still outstanding. The clerk of court also informed that the passage of Hurricane Melissa disrupted the process. Acting Senior Parish Court Judge Janelle Nelson Gale ordered the accused, 29-year-old Jamar Grant, further remanded until January 23, 2026, where the case will be mentioned. Grant, otherwise called the Bala of 9 Miles Bull Bay, St. Andrew, and the Slagerville, St. Catherine, is charged with murder and kidnapping. Allegations are that on May 7, Dilworth was last seen going into a taxi. 10 days later, on May 17, the skeletal remains of a woman were found on a beach in Hellshire in Portmore, St. Catherine. Tests and DNA analysis were conducted, and the remains were confirmed to be that of the 20-year-old pharmacy student. Grant was arrested and subsequently charged. St. Mary councillors challenge JPS restoration figures. The Jamaica Public Service Company is being taken to task over its restoration figures as the councillors within the St. Mary Municipal Corporation insisted that the company's reported 85% restoration may not be accurate. In the immediate aftermath, 23% of JPS customers island-wide maintained their power supply. During a meeting of the St. Mary Municipal Corporation with JPS representatives present, the councillors pointed to several major areas across the parish that remain without power 3 weeks after Hurricane Melissa as reason for doubting the reported restoration rate. They named the areas such as Gale, Dressicky, Bonny Gale, Huntstown, and the Top Pen as being among several communities still without power. The councillors also disputed the light and the power company's deployment of work teams in affected areas across the parish. New York AG calls for temporary protected status for Jamaicans after Hurricane Melissa. New York's Attorney General is calling for Washington to grant a special immigration protection to Jamaicans affected by Hurricane Melissa. Hurricane Melissa, the most intense storm ever to hit Jamaica, has killed at least 45 people and caused the U.S. $10 billion in damage. Attorney General Letitia James has written to the U.S. Department of Homeland Security urging the Trump administration to immediately designate a temporary protected status for Jamaicans following the storm's devastating impact on the island on October 28. Authorities estimate that thousands of households have been displaced, with many communities losing homes, schools, businesses, electricity, clean water, and access to medical care. TPS would allow eligible Jamaicans already in the United States who cannot safely return home to live and work there legally for a limited period. Attorney General James said forcing Jamaicans in the U.S. to return to what she describes as a devastated island would be dangerous and cruel, and that situations like this are exactly what TPS was designed to address. She also noted that the U.S. has granted similar protections in the past to nationals of Haiti, Honduras, Nicaragua, and Nepal after major natural disasters. Her call has strong backing from several New York elected officials. Congresswoman Yvette D. Clarke said that Jamaica is facing devastation and displacement at levels never before seen in its history, and argues that the U.S. has a moral and diplomatic obligation not to expel Jamaican nationals into unsafe conditions. She recently led 43 members of Congress in writing to Homeland Security with the same request. Queens Borough President Donovan Richards, the son of a Jamaican immigrant, said that the images from Jamaica break his heart and insisted the U.S. must do all it can to support what he calls its Caribbean brothers and sisters as they begin the long road to rebuilding. Several New York state legislators with Jamaican roots or larger Jamaican constituencies have also thrown their support behind the TPS. Several assembly members, along with New York City Council Majority Whip Sylvana Brooks Powers said many Jamaicans in the U.S. simply cannot return home safely and they should be allowed to remain legally while their families and the communities recover. The decision rests with the U.S. Department of Homeland Security and the White House. Guys, thanks for watching. Please join us this afternoon at 2 p.m. for another news update.